Welcome to episode 2 of Popping Culture. I'm Jay.
I'm Adrian.
And we're back in for a second week to talk about all things pop culture and a little bit of alcohol to go with it.
Actually, we have a lot of alcohol.
We have a lot of alcohol.
For those of you who are not professional alcoholics like Jay and I, is a growler. That is 64 ounces of beer brought by Special Brews Beer here in Linwood.
Special Brews is fantastic. They have rotating taps. What is it, 12 or 15 rotating taps?
They got about, it looks like 15.
Yeah, as well as they bill themselves having over 1,000 different bottles of beer for you to go in there and check out.
So if you're in the Seattle area, definitely look them up. I can't pronounce the beer that's in here without sounding like I'm already drunk. Jay, what are we drinking today?
So we're drinking from 21st Amendment Brewery down in, I think they're right outside of San Francisco. It's Hell or High Watermelon. And what that means is it's a
fruit beer.
It's a fruit beer. They take their regular brew and they actually put a little bit of watermelon rind in there to give it a little bit of a watermelon flavor. This is something I've had before. You can get it in cans at a lot of your local stores. We got it in the growler because they had it on tap there. 21st Amendment was actually there doing an event tonight, so that's where we picked it up.
We started with one of their American pails.
Yeah. We had that there, and then I had had this one before, so I said, hey, Adrian, let's get that one in a growler. That'll be our drink for the show. So I've had it. He's never had it, so you're going to actually see him try it for the first time. It's definitely a different taste than what you would get out of your traditional beers.
And I am picky. I'm a picky beer drinker.
You're a beer snob.
I don't want to say snob. I just prefer good beer. We were at a beer festival 2 weeks ago.
2 weekends.
And I was particular about what I drank.
Yes.
And you were not with your jalapeno beer.
Oh, that was a mistake. Jalapeno, it was a jalapeno Bach, I think. I don't even remember the. Oh, no, it was a Belgian triple. Jalapeno Belgian triple. It was very good when I tried it. 5 hours later, when it was still sitting right here, not so fun.
Okay, but high or high watermelon. I like that it's beer.
I see that I'm going to be drinking most of this growler myself.
No, I'm a friend.
Okay.
And I would not make you drink that all by yourself. It's fine. I don't dislike it. It's definitely watermelon. It's not an overpower watermelon where I'm like, oh, it's super sweet. Like some of the beers out there, the fruit beers especially, they have super sweet. That Merlot one was crazy.
The beer low. It was a beer brewed with Merlot grapes in the mash, so it had a very strong grape flavor.
I like this at a barbecue. If I had some barbecue chicken right now, some corn on the cob, this would be a great beer. Not my preference for sitting down like this, but we got 2 more pints left in there and the one I just poured, so let's get to work.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move into some of our other topics for the week. Where do you want to start this week? We've got comics, TV, movies.
Let's start with TV. Started with TV before. Let's start with TV again.
All right.
You've watched a couple more Game of Thrones.
Yes, I am through episode 8 of season 4 now. So I only have 2 more episodes to go and I'm fully caught up.
Okay.
And I will be watching those later tonight.
And that's the only thing you're binge watching because a new fall season's coming up? Or you got anything else on your binge list?
Well, I'm still working through Pretty Little Liars. I started season 3 on that, so I only got...
so that's why you like the watermelon beer.
Well, there you go. So I'm about 3 episodes into that, so that means I've got the rest of season 3 and all of season 4. I am watching the Green Lantern animated series.
Okay, the one where the ship is sentient.
Yes, the Aya, the interactive... No, the... I don't remember. IA. They call her Aya. But yeah, it was 2011, I believe, and for some reason I never got around to watching it, but I've been watching that. It's actually really good. Much better than that thing they called a movie a couple years ago.
Ooh, the First Flight movie.
Yes.
Okay. So the Green Lantern animated series, the comic book was pretty good, followed very close to the show.
Yes.
It was just like a supplement. Same with the Young Justice. You got a little extra in the comic you didn't get in the episodes. Both canceled at the same time.
Okay.
Cartoon Network just decided we're pulling the plug on all these, and they pulled the plug. Speaking of binge-watching cartoons, have you watched the Young Justice show?
I have not, but I know they did just announce, or release, actually, I think, the box set of season 1.
The Blu-ray. The box is already available. They released the Blu-ray.
But now I heard that the box set was missing episodes.
Is it?
Yeah. I was told there was about 4 episodes that weren't included, or maybe they were not in order or something. There were some issues with it where it did upset a bunch of people. But I think this new release is supposed to have everything in there, and then obviously it's Blu-ray, so tons of bonus features.
So that'd be really cool because I saw every episode as it came out. Season 1 is really fun. Season 2 is really serious.
Okay.
We were talking about this before when we were at Special Brews having the other 21st Amendment beer. DC is getting really serious with their animation. You just talked about one that we'll get into when we just get to movies. But the Young Justice one was very lighthearted, very Teen Titans-ish, the first season. Because it's Young Justice. For those of you who aren't familiar, they're not the Junior Justice League, they're Young Justice. And that's actually how they got their name, is Impulse was trying to explain to the media, no, we're young, just us, that's it. And they're like, Young Justice.
Got it.
That's how the name stuck.
Clever.
But season 2, total dark.
Okay.
Like they are pretending other people are dead. They're infiltrating evil organizations. They're hard on that line of good, evil. A couple of them have been killed. There's an alien invasion. Really good though.
So you got to grow up real quick to watch that one.
Yes. Like if you have children, one, don't let them watch this podcast because good Lord, I know I'm gonna curse like in the next 7 minutes. 2, don't let them watch the second season. So those a suggestion for your binge watch list.
Okay.
Not available on Netflix though, except you have to get the disc.
Okay.
So the 2 binge watches. That's all you got going.
Yeah, right now that's all I got going. Like I said, though, we're finishing up Game of Thrones tonight. We're going to test out Californication, episode 1 of that. I have the discs from Netflix sitting at home, so we'll probably try that either tomorrow or Friday. Having never watched it before, I don't know. I have an idea of what it's about based on, the little teasers or synopsis they put out there. But I know it's another one that has a lot of... it's all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, essentially. So
it's a David Duchovny biography?
yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
So we'll see how that goes. If that doesn't stick, we'll move on to something else. But
Speaking of not sticking, my binge show, Last Man Standing. I know I promised everybody I would binge watch Arrow, and I'm trying my hardest. We've gotten through 4 episodes so far. And it's not that I dislike it. I'm fine with it. I don't love it. I don't hate it.
Okay.
It just is. But I've had a very busy week, so half-hour episodes is a lot easier to get in before bed or like while I'm cooking food than a full hour.
Yeah.
With that said, Last Man Standing. Loved season 1. It was hilarious. Like, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did.
Okay, and now this is the Tim
This
Allen
is the
show.
Tim Allen show where he's works for essentially a Cabela's type company called Outdoor Man. He always does all their outside marketing, traveling, and now he's home, stuck at home.
Okay.
Wife, 3 kids, because the wife got a promotion. He's never been around the house. So now he's kind of more involved with the family, and he's your stereotypical Tim Allen character, which I'm pretty sure is no longer him playing a character.
It's him.
He's just Tim Allen.
Melded.
And season 1 was funny. The jokes were fresh. The humor, I liked it. You actually... One of the daughters, you grew close to the characters.
Right.
Season 2, they recasted the daughter. One of the daughters had a child, in high school.
Okay.
Well, suddenly this kid's like 5 years old.
Oh.
The daughter's been recast, so she looks a little older. Now the dad's in the picture. It's all just political questions, and like it's about the Obama election because it's a little bit older.
Right.
We are now 5 episodes into season 2. And I'm struggling to get through the rest of season 2. So I may catch up with Arrow real fast.
Now, okay, so we talked a little bit about being completionists when it comes to comics last week. Are you a completionist on TV shows?
I wish I could say I wasn't, but I am.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
I will sit there. I watched, I don't know if you ever watched The Cape that was out a couple years ago. It was supposed to be sort of a superhero-y show.
Sure. The one that lasted 6 episodes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was ready to be done with it halfway through the first episode.
Absolutely.
But I was like, it's only 5.5 more episodes. It's 4 hours of my life. I can finish that.
6 seasons in a movie for that, man.
Yeah.
6 seasons in a movie.
So, I don't know if that's because... Now, okay,
Would you say that's because you read comics and you have to get all the comics? Or do you think even if you weren't a comic reader, you'd still have that same mentality?
I think it's that mentality that I always had that I took into comics that just amplified it.
Okay.
I don't like not finishing anything. Didn't love it, don't hate it.
But you're going to finish
I'm going to finish it.
there you go.
Meals, I will finish it. Even when Jay and I had a pizza beforehand, I was full halfway through.
But you finished it.
Damn right I
Yeah,
did.
no, I did the same thing.
I'm going to finish something.
And to be fair, I had barbecue chicken on my pizza. So my My beer's going great with my barbecue chicken
Oh,
right
well,
now.
now that's clever. I went with spicy Italian sausage. All right. So, yeah, I'll probably finish it. I may not finish it with the wife. I may finish it just solo. So, because she's not enjoying it anymore either.
Okay.
She's definitely enjoying Arrow more. So, we'll get through
There's
Arrow.
nothing wrong with that.
I'll get through Last Man Standing while working, because luckily I can have TV in the background while I'm doing
Right.
not working, I guess. Don't tell my boss. So, yeah, those are my binge watch shows. So, that kind of catches up on TV. We're going for a little bit of a shorter episode than we did last time.
Right.
So pretty clear cut into movies.
Okay.
And you saw a movie this week.
I did. DC released, actually, I think they released it last week, but I watched it this past Sunday. Their new animated movie, which was Assault on Arkham. This is a little bit different movie in that it's not about Batman. Batman is in it you see him in it in about 3-4 scenes, but it's mostly about the Suicide Squad or Task Force X, depending on who's talking during the movie. And they get recruited by Amanda Waller, the Wall, to infiltrate.
The Wall?
That's what they call her.
Did
the
they
Wall.
really call her the Wall in that?
Yeah. She's a very portly woman,
Oh, okay.
so she is the Wall.
The Wall, as
Yes.
opposed to the comic rendition, she looks like Halle Berry.
Well, the Arrow rendition and the new 52 rendition, she looks like that. If you go to pre-52
I remember.
Checkmate, she was the
Absolutely.
same way.
Yep.
Even in Smallville, she was in Smallville in a couple episodes during the Checkmate kind of mini
and she
storyline.
fit the name The Wall.
She was much larger.
Okay.
But so she recruits them to go and break into Arkham Asylum to retrieve a dirty bomb that the Joker has.
Okay.
He's kept it somewhere inside of Arkham Asylum. They don't know where, but so they get tasked with breaking in and trying to find it. This is a much different attitude, I guess you would say, for a DC animated movie. It's not. I mean, you look at the old Batman animated series. It was kind of a darker series, but you never really saw anybody die. Since I would say the last 2 years, the DC movies are getting a lot darker, a lot grittier. You see people dying. I was telling you earlier, there's actually a scene where you don't see anything, but Harley Quinn and Deadshot have sex. She's waiting for him naked in his bed when he gets to his room. You don't see it, but you can obviously tell.
Does she call him Puddin'?
She does.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
There's another scene where she takes her clothes off to distract some guards. There's another scene where Killer Frost is pretending to be dead. She comes into the asylum in a body bag, and the mortician goes to unzip the body bag, and you pretty much see everything from here, no nipples, but pretty much everything else in the upper torso region.
If you did, they'd be dark blue.
Yeah. But that's definitely not something that I would have expected to see out of a DC animated movie. These are definitely not aimed at kids anymore.
And they're definitely not. We talked about that because then you see the Flashpoint paradox, which I don't remember if you saw or not.
Yes, I did.
Pretty violent, especially
Yeah.
the revolution at the end. Like you see Grifter take multiple arrows through
Yeah.
the head, through the heart, blood comes out, brain matter comes out. Like definitely not for kids.
Yeah. So, people always say, oh, comic books and cartoons, they're for kids. This is definitely proof that that does not hold true anymore.
No. And if you're showing those to your kids,
Right. And there's gonna be people that are showing them to their kids because there are people that now there's kids out there that recognize the Joker. There's people that recognize Harley Quinn and some of these other characters. And really anymore I feel like there's almost not even that line. You'll give your kid the Xbox controller, let him play Halo all day.
Sure. And it's different too because like you mentioned the Batman the Animated Series Joker. Let's look at the movie Mask of the Phantasm. He's getting beat up by the Phantasm. He reaches back behind him to grab something. There's a hammer, there's a saw, and a tube of bologna. Then you see him grab the tube of bologna and hit somebody.
Yeah.
Not real damage. You look at the Joker in the comic book, his own face has been cut off, dried, turned to leather, now being worn by straps. Now it's being worn by somebody else called the Joker's daughter. Like, definitely two different worlds. Like, whenever I'm at the comic store and parents always ask for books for their kids, and the kid will grab something because the cover looks really cool.
Right.
Like, you look at an X-Force cover, maybe not the newest one, the Rick Remender covers were awesome.
Yeah.
The work by Clayton Crane, you have a werewolf on it, looks great. But inside is definitely not a book for kids. And the DC movies are coming that way. You'll have a parent who's at Target and it's a Batman movie for his kid. Sure, why not?
My kid's got Batman pajamas. Why not?
There you go.
If you want to give your kid a good book, give him Tiny Titans. It's hilarious.
Or pick up Little Gotham, Mini Marvels.
Yeah.
Like, definitely written for kids, but those are clever, funny
Right.
books. And the guy who does Mini Marvels actually writes a weekly comic strip for the Emerald City Comic Con.
Oh, okay.
Tales from the Con.
Okay, yeah. No, I used to love picking up when I used to buy 40 books a month, I'd pick up the Tiny Titans.
Yeah.
Because they would always be referencing things that are happening in the adult books. So during Final Crisis, there was a scene of them in school, and it was the end of the year, and they're like, oh no, it's Finals Crisis.
That's awesome. I remember that.
Yeah.
It was
So-
funny.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it's clever.
there's good books out there for kids too. But this is not a movie for kids. If you are an adult and you want to go see it, I highly recommend it. It was very entertaining. A lot of interesting twists that happen, but definitely don't show it to the younger crowd.
Okay. I also saw a movie, definitely for kids.
Okay.
Sin City: A Dame to Kill For.
Yeah, no, I'd take a 2-year-old to that.
Oh, please.
Yeah, why not?
To be fair, I'm pretty sure there was a kid in the theater.
Probably.
Yeah. Same as when I saw Winter Soldier at midnight, a kid in the theater who blessed his 8-year-old's heart telling his dad to be quiet. So, good on you, little boy.
At least somebody knows what's up.
So, A Dame to Kill For. I went in really excited. I liked the first Sin City movie. Not huge into the comics,
Okay.
so I didn't bring that with me. Like, this needs to stick true to this.
Right.
This is what I know.
Which sometimes is better.
Sometimes it's better. That's right. I came in open slate for enjoyment. It was 101 minutes. I had like 9 trailers beforehand,
Okay.
and I couldn't wait for those 101 minutes to be up. Like, it sounds horrible, but like halfway through, I'm all like, oh, this has got to be wrapping up here. Oh, Lord. We're going to be in it for a little while. It started off pretty strong. It started off just like the other Sin City.
Okay.
To be fair, the effects and the style was exactly the same as
Okay.
the first Sin City. The problem was, it was exactly the same as the first Sin City. I feel like I watched the exact same movie with different characters.
Okay.
Same plot twist, same character developments, exact same thing happening, just with different characters. And then, when it was over, it did not do a great job of telling the story. Why I say that is, you may recall the first Sin City movie told about 3 different stories, 4
Right.
different stories.
Right.
They don't really connect, you know. This one did the same thing, but it connects to the first Sin City movie, and half of Sin City: A Dame to Kill For takes place after the first Sin City movie. Half of it actually takes place before the first Sin City movie.
What?
But the transitions don't actually tell you that.
Okay.
So, in this one, James Brolin, plays a guy named Dwight.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And I watched this whole story, and I'm like, oh, that's the girl from the other Sin City movie, but she's in charge of, the girl gangs anyway, so she's just referencing it, no big deal. It wasn't until the next day in the shower, I'm all like, oh, Dwight was Clive Owen's character in the first movie.
Oh, so same character, different actor playing, so it didn't...
Because he got plastic surgery.
Right.
So that portion of it took place beforehand, before the rest of the Sin City movies. But Marv was in it because he elected Marv's help, who watched Nancy dancing. Nancy's the constant thread throughout everything. She's dancing in all these stories. So the timeline was really, really kind of choppy.
Okay.
And I don't know if they did that to make you sit there and really think about it. I don't know if they did that because they didn't care, or to them it was just obvious, because it was directed by Roberto Rodriguez and by Frank Miller. Why are you making that face, Jay?
I have no clue what you're talking about. You're fluent in Spanish. Got it. Good.
So, it was directed by one of the guys who wrote, I'm going to have you explain that like a little bit later. It was directed by one of the guys who wrote the Sin City book. So to him, I'm assuming it just made sense to him because he knew it all. And it did not make great sense.
Okay.
With that said, a lot of violence. That was the other thing that bothered me about that movie is I'm fine with violence, I'm fine with nudity, I'm fine with sex scenes, as long as there's a point. If you're gratuitous just to be gratuitous, if Ava Green's naked for too long just so she can be naked, at a certain point you're like, okay, move on. I don't care.
I've seen it. It's okay. Next scene.
Exactly. So, and I got to the point where I was like, okay, that was a really cool kill scene, but now I've watched 9 gratuitous kill scenes for the past 10 minutes in a row.
Okay.
I'm ready to move on to some substance. And
so,
there wasn't substance.
It's a little too much on all of the...
Yeah. They went too stylized and they lost substance.
Okay. So the most important question I have is, were there any good trailers? Do you remember any of the trailers?
There's a new Amityville horror movie coming out.
Okay.
So I'm all about that. I want to see that. For those of you who saw the Conjuring horror movie, there was a porcelain doll in that movie called Annabelle who was totally creepy in it. And she was just an ancillary thing on this shelf during the movie. But for some reason, when you go back and think about the Conjuring movie, you remember that doll.
Okay.
So they're doing a movie about that doll. Looked pretty good. I'll totally go see it. Another one was The Maze Runner, which I'm sure I'm going to end up going to see anyways, but on my expectations for it.
Okay.
So out of the two, definitely want to see the Amityville and then the Conjuring sequel. I'm sorry, prequel. Annabelle.
Okay.
It's a prequel.
Okay.
And the rest of them, Maze Runner, and the other ones were just kind of throwaways.
Okay. I find that that's kind of normal anymore. You know, you get 6 to 8 trailers for a movie. There's 1, maybe 2 that really piques my interest. But at the same time, with any other person in the theater, it's 1 or 2 other ones than what piques me. So.
And the problem that I've been having with a lot of these trailers recently, and in fact, there was that big scuttlebutt a couple months ago. Yes, I'm an 80-year-old man who says scuttlebutt.
Hey, I say it all the time.
See, there you go. Was trailers are too long and they're showing too much of the movies.
Right. It's not a real teaser. It's not piquing your interest. You're like, I just saw all the 4 major points of the movie. And then you go and all you get is filler other than that.
And so for the Annabelle trailer, I figured out, it was very clear what it was in the first 30 seconds of the trailer. The other 30 seconds are showing you scary scenes from the movie, and they looked really cool. I'm all like, oh, that's an awesome effect. I wish I saw that in context in the movie, because now when I see it, it's not going to be as awesome.
You're going to be like, oh no, I remember I saw that 6 months ago.
Yeah, I remember when I saw that last
Yeah.
time. So, and it's just another thing that we're moving away from movies like Aliens, or Alien, I should say. The original was Sigourney Weaver, where 3/4 of that movie, we never saw the freaking alien.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure I got it myself.
Yeah. No, I think the trailer industry has gotten really weird lately. I remember it's probably about a year ago by now. I was in a movie and they were showing a trailer, and it was literally like a 15-second trailer, and you saw a space shuttle, I think, and then she said the name of the movie, and it said coming next year. I'm like, that's good. That's building suspense.
I'm assuming that was Gravity.
I don't remember if it was or not.
Okay.
It may have been. But I'm like, so I've got a whole another year to see more trailers for this.
Sure.
And they'll throw a little bit here and a little bit there, and by the time it comes out, I'll actually be interested in it.
And, I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm totally a hypocrite in this, because Guardians of the Galaxy,
I was just going to mention that trailer.
the first trailer was awesome, and I was totally excited. And when I saw that it was a Nova Corps, before they even said it, because I know there's 3 chess pieces, like Nova has.
Right.
I got totally stoked for it. And then more trailers came out, and then more trailers came out, and more of the movie, and more. I stopped watching the trailers because I was getting too excited, but I came to the realization I'm watching too much of the movie.
Right.
I need to stop seeking them out. And I found myself seeking them out, like we always do.
And it's got to the point now where I've seen, both with TV and movies, they'll be like, hey, watch the first 5 minutes of this or first 10 minutes of this free. I'm like, with a TV show, that's 10%,
Yeah, sure.
15% of the episode. Why am I watching that much of it? So, I don't know. I like more of the teaser trailer than the full-length trailer.
Respectable. But yeah, so I have no other movies to comment on.
No,
In the sake of time efficiency, should I move to comic books?
Let's move on to comics.
No, we're not. We're going to have more beer first, Jay.
Well, okay, we can do that too. I noticed that you
Yeah?
again have more comics over there than I do.
You're not surprised by that.
No, I'm not. I actually went in and I picked up my comics out of my pull box today. I had 2 comics in there. And I started thinking, are comics just not coming out anymore, or have I dropped that many?
It was a semi-light week, I will say
Okay.
that. Because I go through the whole previews order every Monday. It was a semi-light week. I had a little bit more than 2 this
Right.
week. I have 1, 2. Well, there's Jay's copies.
And to be fair, in addition to my 2, I also have 6 more that I got digitally.
So I had
it's
12
8 total.
pulls this week.
So, okay. Yeah, it's not too much more when I count in my digitals.
No, not
So-
that much more.
But still, could be construed a light week.
Consider light week. But what did you get for this week?
So I got, let me turn this screen on so I can tell you what I got digitally. For paper copy, I got Sinestro number 5, Red Lantern number 34, And then digitally, I got Batman Eternal number 21, Cowl number 4, Letter 44 number 8. There was one more that I can't think of right now.
Evil Empire number 4.
Oh, yes, I got Evil Empire number 4, which I have not read yet. I'll read that later. But, so I got 2 of my 8 books were both written by Charles Soule.
Okay. So we mentioned him last week. Talking to him again about this week. Tell me what you got from him.
So I got Letter 44 number 8. I'm loving this book. I don't remember. We didn't talk about we mentioned it last week, but we didn't talk about it. I said I'd talk about it when it came out. So the concept behind this book is every time a new president takes office, the previous president leaves them a letter saying, hey, this is kind of what happened during my term, all the things that were made public as well as things that weren't. Here's things you need to know. I wish you luck, yada, yada, yada. So the 44th president comes in. He's got the letter from the gentleman before him. And the letter says, hey, so, we've been in all these wars lately. I've been really pushing war and spending and all this stuff. Well, here's why. We found aliens just on the other side of Jupiter, and we needed to be able to defend ourselves if they decide to attack.
Right, because it is not like a small amount of aliens. We found aliens.
Yes. They found that the aliens were building some sort of structure just past Jupiter, and they have no clue what it is.
Right.
So the previous president pushed all this war to develop soldiers so that we can have people go fight for us if there's an invasion. Also weapons research so that we'd be able to fight back, not just go in there unarmed, but have weapons that might actually be able to take them out. So we've gotten to the point now where we know that there's a space shuttle that has gone out to try to find the alien or reach the aliens and see what they're doing. We've also discovered that shuttle will never be coming back to Earth. They don't have enough power and resources to turn the shuttle around and come back to Earth.
But what's going on that shuttle that may make that a problem?
One of the astronauts got pregnant, had a kid.
Yep.
But I know you're a couple issues behind, but I'll tell you that's not as big of an issue now as we once thought it would be. Some things have changed. But the biggest issue, other than there being aliens, is that nobody on Earth knows except for the president and a couple researchers.
Right.
But now the former president in this issue met with one of the press and laid it all out, saying, hey, there's aliens, and this is why we've been going to war, and this is why we've been trying to get the economy going and do this sort of thing. So it's believed now that this press person will obviously go and run the story, and then everybody will find out. At the end of this issue, the alien ship or structure that they built blows up one of the moons of Jupiter. And they figure out how much force would it take to do that, and it's some scientific number that I can't even fathom.
Oh, Darth Vader figured it out long before.
Right,
that.
yeah. But then the president asks, how much firepower would we have if we launched all of the nuclear weapons on Earth right now combined? If all the countries came together and launched all their nuclear weapons at these aliens, how much would that be? And all of that combined is less force than what the aliens shot out of their thing.
One shot.
One
less
shot.
than all of our nuclear weapons.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's kind of bad. We kind of don't want to piss them off. So that's kind of where we're at in the story now. So you've got these guys up in the space shuttle that are seeing this. You've got the president down on Earth trying to figure out how to handle the situation. And now you've got the former president that's ready to leak all this information to the press and make the current president look like an idiot.
So letter 44, the first trade is out.
First trade is out. I believe it collects either 1 through 5 or 1 through 6.
Sure.
The other thing about this book, and I think you and I have talked about this, Sci-Fi is actually optioned it, and they're putting into development a TV show based on Letter 44.
Which, congratulations to Charles Soule. That's awesome.
That's huge.
We see the success that they've been having with TV shows comic books as TV shows.
Right.
Arrow we talked about, Smallville, but even Walking Dead. Like you mentioned, people come into the comic books all the time saying, hey, I heard they turned that Walking Dead TV show into a comic book.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and Walking Dead's been on 4 years now. They're about to start their 5th season. It's the biggest thing out there every Sunday that it's on. I think it's on Sundays. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Sundays.
It's the biggest thing, and it's on. It was AMC, some show or some channel that nobody really watched that much. They're the ones that put it on. So Sci-Fi's trying to get into the game with Letter 44, and they're also doing a couple other adaptations. They had signed a deal for 4. But I love this comic. I can't wait for it to come out every month. It's a very, very good concept.
It is, and you were right to have me read it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Also by Charles Soule, Inhuman. So this is issue number 4 that just came out. To catch everybody up on what's going on with Inhuman is essentially Black Bolt created a bomb to spread the Terrigen mist throughout all of the world. So anybody with Inhuman DNA is now an Inhuman. There are now more Inhumans than mutants in this world.
Okay.
And they're forming New Adelon, which is right outside New York City. Black Bolt is gone, as we discussed before. He's with the New Avengers, destroying worlds. So Medusa is running the show.
Okay.
This takes place as about one of the Inhumans, whose name is Dante. They call him Inferno. Funny, right? So it's all about him because he has firepower.
Okay.
So it's all about him and what it's like to be on New Adelon. I'm intrigued by it. I've been enjoying it. We got this new character now called Reader. Everyone is super powered, and there are now other Inhumans, for lack of a better term, who do not follow the same views as Medusa or Black Bolt, who kind of want supremacy. So,
okay, so
your brotherhood of evil Inhumans, as it were.
Right.
And that's run by a character named Lash. Charles Soule is doing a really good job with it. It's definitely a slow building foundation as far as the creation of Inhumans, the view of Adelon, the view of Medusa, and kind of, you can very clearly see it's building to something.
Okay.
I think Charles Soule in this is definitely writing for the trade, as it were. So I think come issue 6, it'll be the arc, the climax of the first arc.
Okay.
Because as people do, as they write to the trades, they definitely excel at doing that, the 1 through 6 kind of perspective.
Right.
With that said, this was originally going to be written by Matt Fraction, who's no longer with Marvel at all. Hawkeye was his last book and he left, now doing Sex Criminals. So I'm curious why he's not doing that. They made a public announcement saying that Marvel editorials just had a different view than Matt Fraction had. I'm curious what his view was.
Okay.
We'll never know. Charles Soule, you're doing a great job with this book.
Okay. And that's something we seem to be getting a lot of lately is creators have been having a good run on a book or have been named to be a creator on a book, and then all of a sudden, creative differences where we're going a different way.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's maybe, I think today more than ever we have iconic or superstar creators. Obviously you had, in the 60s there was Lee and there was Ditko and there was a couple names here and there, but there gets to be cult followings behind creators now.
Absolutely.
So I almost wonder if the creators, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but the creators tend to have more of an ego about themselves. Like, this is the way that I would do it, and that's the best way. And if you want it somewhere else or something else, I'm not going to take your feedback. I'm just going to go do something else.
I think it's a mixture of two, because that's what happened with Chuck Dixon,
right,
with DC. And in my mind, when Chuck Dixon left DC, he was a hero. Like, good for you. Grant Morrison took over Batman, and as you know, I'm a huge Grant Morrison fan.
Uh-huh. Number 1 fan club.
Oh, yeah. That's for damn sure. So he didn't like the direction that he was taking Batman, and Chuck Dixon said, you know what, it's lazy writing, it's bad writing, I'll have no part of it. And he parted ways. Good for you. You have integrity, you have what, maybe not integrity is the right word, but you had your clear vision of where Batman should go.
Right.
You didn't agree, you went and did an epic run on G.I. Joe. Kudos to you. Now, with Inhuman, it's a much bigger arc. Like, as far as Matt Fraction is concerned, you have Marvel editors who are saying, this is where we need Inhuman to go because it connects with Age of Ultron. It connects with all these other events. It's going to connect to Access. It's going to connect with New Avengers. Like, all these things are all-encompassing.
Okay.
Like, Marvel has retreats for their editors, I think every 6 months, where
right,
all the editors get together and they plot out what's happening.
Yeah.
So I understand where they say, hey, Matt, this is where we need Inhuman to go. And he says, I had these ideas for it. And they go, that's great, but this is where we need it to go.
Right.
And he says, well, in that case, that's just not what I was looking for.
Right. I'm not the man to take him there.
I'm not the man to take it there. His release on it was very gracious. Marvel's release on it was very gracious. So I don't feel like it was an ego thing necessarily. He left a lot more graciously than Chuck Dixon did.
Okay.
Although I support Chuck Dixon more because of where Grant Morrison take it compared to where the editors are taking Inhuman.
Right. Inhuman's still a good book, whereas the Morrison run on Batman was not.
The Pirate Batman just fixed everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, that's kind of where we're at with that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the next book I have to talk about, I do have another Charles Soule book here, but I'm going to go a different direction. I think he's gotten enough love for
You don't want to do the Charles Soule edition?
It's the hat trick, yeah.
Okay. I'm doing 2 more. After that, I'm doing 2 Bendises. So.
Okay, well, you have fun with that.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to we're going to head over to Sinestro. This is a book, Cullen Bunn is doing 2 books in a similar vein right now. I should have talked about Magneto last week.
You sure did.
I lose track of yesterday. So Sinestro is kind of the same thing where he's taking somebody who could be considered an anti-hero or really a villain to a lot of people, and he's telling stories about them. So if you recall previously, Sinestro allowed himself to become overtaken by Parallax and then killed all the Guardians.
Yeah.
Yes. So this...
Hal Jordan.
No, Sinestro did too.
You're not going to go back to the Hal Jordan Parallax experience? Okay,
Nope.
I apologize then. We'll start with just Sinestro and Parallax.
I will in a bit. It's in this book.
Sinestro War.
Yes, Sinestro War.
Okay.
So Sinestro gets possessed by Parallax, which is the avatar of the yellow power batteries, if you will. Each color lantern has an avatar. Parallax is the avatar of the yellow core, the embodiment of fear. So he allowed himself to be inhabited by Parallax, gave him way more strength than he had, and he went and slaughtered all the lanterns. He disappeared for a while after that. This series is where he came back, and since then he's been trying to gather up. He found out there's a bunch of I can never say his planet, Corrigarians, his people from his planet, still alive. He thought they were all dead. He finds out there's still some alive, so he's been trying to gather them all up and reform the civilization and kind of be their protector. Hal Jordan finds out about this and shows up and tries to talk to him. And he's pretty much saying, do you remember what you did? You slaughtered all the Guardians or anything like that. Parallax took you over and essentially made you his slave. What Sinestro is saying is, no, Parallax didn't do that. I was able to resist Parallax, unlike you did, which is what you were referencing.
That's what I'm referencing.
Where Hal Jordan got possessed by Parallax and killed all the Green Lantern Corps. Sinestro's saying, I have more control than you do, and you are arrogant, and why are you calling me reckless when you're the one that's always reckless?
Very fair point.
It is very fair. So they argue back and forth for a bit. Everybody's kind of looking on, and then towards the end of the issue, you find out that Sinestro didn't get necessarily possessed by Parallax, but he now has full control over Parallax. So
Is he still controlling Parallax?
he is. So Parallax pops out of his chest and attacks Hal Jordan. So now Sinestro has full control over one of the most powerful beings in the universe, essentially. The embodiment of fear. It's not just that he can channel fear through his ring, but he now has the embodiment of fear under his control.
Does it explain how he got control of Parallax?
All he says is that, and they may go and go into more detail on this later, but all he says is that he has more control over himself than anybody else does. So therefore, he was able to extend control over to this
Parallax.
avatar.
Okay, so I don't know where they're going to go with this.
I don't either.
Something to take into effect is Rise of the First Lantern, I think, was the one where we found out that all the entities were losing strength.
Yes.
So they were a little easier to control.
Right.
It's possible at that time he took over control, because we've seen people control avatars before.
Right.
Kyle controlled it with Ion.
Yes.
Now we have Parallax.
And for those of you that weren't reading during the First Lantern storyline, what they ended up finding out was there is a reservoir that contains all of the power that fuels all of the rings. And the reservoir was running low. So, of course, they needed somebody to come in and save the day. Kyle Rayner's happened to not be doing anything because he's a loser.
Whoa!
And
Because he's the hero to the universe.
so he went in, he restored the source wall, refilled the reservoir,
Yeah, he did.
which would now mean that all the avatars are back at full strength.
Sure.
So I would say even if Sinestro took control while he was weakened, once Parallax got back to full strength, he probably wouldn't have been.
Sure.
So I would like to see them do a flashback story of how he got control of Parallax. But for now, he controls him, makes Haltorn look like a chump, which hurt me a little bit. And then they are
Okay, it hurts a lot when we hear honesty and we're not ready for it.
right. So after the fight, Sinestro essentially says, "Leave me alone," and him and his other Yellow Lantern Corps that he has fly off, leaving Jordan behind.
Now, Norin Satuk looks like she stayed with him.
So Sinestro's daughter is a Green Lantern, and she had been hanging out with the Sinestro Corps trying to nurse back to health some of the Korrigorians that they found. She tries to stay behind with Hal. He tells her to leave, and you see her fly off with the other Sinestro Corps members. So his last line, Sinestro's last line is, they will fear the unknown, the changes I bring with me. Change, like fear, is a constant, and I control both. So he's saying he controls both change and fear.
And he's always worked through fear, even as a Green Lantern. That was his biggest problem, is he
Right.
took over control
Yes.
of his whole planet for justice purposes,
Right.
but really ruled in fear.
And that's one of the things that Hal Jordan references in here is, look what happened last time you tried to help your people. You ended up becoming a dictator, and they hated you for it. Are
That
you
is
going to
true.
let that happen again?
Yes, he is.
Probably.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, but yeah, so that's this one. I think in both Sinestro and Magneto, I've seen Cullen Bunn be able to really show you a side of these villains that you don't necessarily see all the time. They're not necessarily trying to take over the world and kill people, but you're seeing some of their motives for it, and that's one thing that I think is good. We don't always see the motive behind the villains.
Right, you just see the villainous.
Yeah.
And some of them don't have motives. Joker, crazy
He's
as a
just
motive.
sociopath. Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, moving on to my next one. All New X-Men 31 by Brian Michael Bendis. It's been a really fun book for those of you who are not familiar with the All New X-Men. Essentially what happened was you have AVX, Phoenix 5, Cyclops eventually has the full Phoenix Force, kills Charles Xavier, and then the Phoenix Force leaves thanks to Hope and the Scarlet Witch, and the X-Men hate Cyclops.
Well, yeah.
Not cool.
Well,
They didn't hate Jean Grey after she killed the planet, but we hate Cyclops. You know what? I'm not going to get into that. at some
she didn't
point.
kill Xavier.
Maybe she should have. I didn't mean that, Charles. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. No. But so what happens is Beast decides who better to talk to Scott Summers than a young Scott
Yeah,
Summers.
right. Yeah.
So he goes back and gets the original 5 X-Men, brings them to our current time. Have a nice sit-down talk with yourself, kind of the man-in-the-mirror discussion, and we're going to send them back. Doesn't turn out that way. Surprise. They get sent here, and they don't know how to get sent back.
Aha.
So it happened about the same time the Age of Ultron thing did. And we talked about this with New Avengers. Everyone's been messing with the time stream so much, it's now broken. So they don't know how to get sent back.
Okay.
So now they're in our timeline being raised by Kitty Pryde is watching over them. They were with the Wolverine group, so the Jean Grey school. They're now with Cyclops' group, the Xavier Academy. So where we last left off was Cyclops left town to go hang out with Corsair in space.
Young Cyclops?
Young Cyclops.
Cyclops.
So young Cyclops is now hanging out with his dad.
Okay.
Which, why wouldn't you? You just found out your dad, who you thought's been dead, is alive and is a space pirate. Not just a pirate, a freaking space pirate.
Is he still dating the cat?
He's still dating the
All
cat. Yeah. So there's a really funny dialogue in the first issue of Cyclops about that. So Cyclops has gone off in space. So Jean Grey is kind of the right hand to Kitty Pryde, where Cyclops was to Professor X.
Okay.
In this issue, it starts off with Angel and X-23 getting back from a night out together.
Oh.
And it is very clear what happened in that night out together because they woke up in bed.
Okay.
Now, previously...
Wait, I was going to say, wasn't she trying to hook up with adult Cyclops?
No, well, weird. She had a thing for adult Cyclops, ended up making out with young Cyclops for a little while, a couple issues. I keep saying episodes, I'm sorry. And now she's with Angel.
Okay.
Angel, in
So
this...
she's like Jean Grey now.
Wow.
Back in the 60s, it was a
I mean, to be fair, Wolverine kind of threw his shit around,
Well,
so no
yeah.
reason that, his clone wouldn't too.
right.
Makes sense. So in this, Angel's not the traditional Angel we're used to seeing. He's sarcastic, he's funny, he's witty, so it makes sense.
So he's Angel with a personality.
He's Angel with a personality, not just the wings and a pretty face and buttloads of Tony Stark worth money.
Okay.
It actually starts off in the Ultimates universe, this issue.
Okay.
So you find out there's a time bubble and it's closing, and you don't know how it got closed. And they're trying to figure it out. New mutant arises. Turns out she has the power inside her to transport to different dimensions. You see Asgard. You see one of the other Earths. So the new X-Men show up to kind of talk her through this, to help her out. Hey, you're a new mutant. Don't worry about it. She's a complete denial. Mutants are back to the original status of being hated, being feared after AVX. So she doesn't want to be a mutant. Police are now after her, and she sends all the X-Men to a different place. You don't know where any of them go, with the exception of Jean Grey. Well, I should take that back. You know, like Iceman goes to the Mole Men. You know, Beast goes to the place. You don't know what dimension they are yet, though.
Okay.
With the exception of Jean Grey, who gets transported right next to the Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Okay.
So she's now in a different universe. We do know that there's a big crossover coming up with the Ultimate Universe and our universe. This is apparently the gateway to it.
Okay.
Bendis' writing has been the same way since he's written everything. There are arcs. They're huge, sweeping arcs. When he wrote New Avengers, it was a 8-trade long, so each trade 6 issues. I can't do math. You do the math. 48?
48.
So about a 50-issue, one-piece arc to
Okay.
take you to where it needed to go. Each issue reads the same. It's a little slow. It's kind of taking its time. By the time it gets to the end of the issue, you just go, well, hold on, where's the rest? What's going on? And sure enough, same with the all-new X-Men and Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'll get to. Same thing. Starts off kind of slow. It's fun enough. I'm enjoying it, but about the pace. But come that last panel, I'm like, well, shit. Where's the next one?
So really, he is writing for the trade then. He's making it so you want to read 6 issues in a row.
He's writing for more than the trade. He's writing for the decade.
He's writing for the omnibus.
Yeah. And
There we go. That's the new phrase, coined.
I actually like that. Writing for the omnibus. I like that.
It's Claremont style.
And the reason I actually say he's writing for the decade is because when he wrote New Avengers, there was a character that you saw, a villain, who did something, and you never saw the villain again.
Okay.
Now, he just shows up in all new X-Men.
So 10 years later, he's
10
like,
years later.
hey, what's up? Remember me?
Yeah.
Oh,
So seriously.
I'm the Spot. No.
Dude shows up, does something. You see a little bit more of him. You still don't know what his face looks like. And I haven't seen him again for 6 issues. So I'm like, okay, I saw him then in Bendis' other story. I see him now. It's been 10 years. Can I get some resolution about who this guy is? How about a name at least? But sure enough, hook, line, sinker. I'm in. I want to know.
Okay.
Okay, so there's one other book that you got.
Yes.
Well, you got a couple more books. There's
Right.
one I want to hear about.
Okay. Which one is that?
We talked about it last week. It came out. You hadn't read it yet. I wish I remembered the name, but I didn't. It was the first.
Oh, you're
run
talking
on
about.
It was their first image run. Brubaker's first image run. You were going to review it. You promised everyone else that you
I
were
have
gonna
the
review
fade
it.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the Fade Out, this is, Brubaker and Phillips. It's their first book from their 5-year deal at Image. I did read it last Thursday. It's really good. So it's noir style. For those of you that aren't familiar, noir is kind of like a dark mystery, usually some sort of murder, some sort of crime that happens that you're trying to figure out. So this takes place in Hollywood in, I want to say it was the 50s-ish, mid-century. So the cast, they show you 6 players up front. And each one of them one's an actor, one's an actress, there's a writer, there's a director, there's head of security for the studios. And it opens up on this guy who is a writer on this movie, and there had been a big party the night before, and he couldn't remember anything that happened. So he wakes up passed out in this Hollywood bungalow. And it's one of those things where if you ever watch some of these old noir movies, you hear like an inner dialogue a lot of times, like, I woke up in a bungalow and I wasn't sure where I was. I looked around me at my surroundings to try to figure out some clues to ascertain what had happened. So it's kind of one of those things where it's a mystery, but you're in the head of the main character. So in a lot of the old movies, it was like
The detective,
detective,
the
something like that.
gumshoe,
Right,
what they were called.
and you were hearing the voiceover that was the voice of the detective. In this, it's easier. You have kind of the thought balloons or just like the narrative boxes to be the voiceover. So he wakes up in this bungalow. He's not sure what happens. He's trying to remember the night before. And one of the things he does remember is they went home with this girl. So he looks around. She's not around. He goes out into the living room and finds her dead on the floor.
Okay.
So he's like, well, shoot, I don't know how she died. I don't remember anything about last night. So he's smart. He wipes the whole place down to get rid of any of his fingerprints so nobody knows he was there. And then he leaves and tries to figure out what happened. He remembers being at some big party, and there was the star, the male lead in the movie was there and was drunk and was getting in a fight and all this kind of stuff. So he's piecing things together. He still doesn't quite know what happened. He's called into the head of security for the lot's office, and he's like, do you know where the actress was last night? Because we found out she's dead. And he's like, he tries to act surprised. He's like, no, I didn't know anything about it. I saw her at the party, and that was the last I saw her. And the guy's like, well, if you know anything, let us know. And then he has to go outside. So the main character picks up the police file from the security officer's desk, and it's ruled as a homicide. And there's pictures in there of her with a noose around her neck strung up around her door, as if she hung herself. So he's like, well, the studio lot is already covering this up. They've been doing this for years with murders and rapes and all this kind of stuff. Now they're covering up this murder. And he's determined to get to the bottom of it. So you meet a couple other characters that you think are probably going to play some part in it. But it's really just setting it up. It's presenting you with the murder and some of the characters that may have been involved in it. And now from here on out, each issue will be revealing more and more of what happened. As it's revealed to the character, it'll be through his memory.
Interesting. Now, reading that, is that a longevity that can take it through a whole series, or are you expecting this to be maybe a maxi run?
I think this is something, what may end up happening, and I don't know, obviously, they may do something where each arc, it's a new mystery.
Okay, a new plot.
They've set themselves up well where they can do that, where they haven't said specifically, this book is this person's story. They've just said, this is where we're dropping you. Okay. Here's some people that you need to know.
So it may be this story 6 issues, and then we move on to a whole complete other thing.
Exactly.
Same. Okay.
Yeah. Which essentially is like a long-form anthology, which I have no problem with.
Not at all. So. Not at all. No, and I do want to read it. Like I said before, I like Brubaker. I like his noir stuff more than his, contemporary work.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. I will probably pick that up in trade form.
Yep. So like I said, first issue came out last week. And as far as I know, it's scheduled to come out every month. It's not going to be one of those ones where it's here and there. So
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And my last one, as discussed, is going to be by Bendis again. Guardians of the Galaxy number 18. It's in the Original Sin tie-in. And what that means is the Watcher's been killed. All the secrets have been kind of exposed. So you're learning a lot about things that you didn't know before. It's a great way to retcon some things and to add some personal drama that didn't need to be necessary. Okay. Like you find out Iron Man, Tony Stark, is responsible for the creation of the Hulk.
Okay.
So, Original Sins. You find out Angela, Neil Gaiman's creation that they moved into the Marvel Universe, is actually an Asgardian. And it turns out there is another realm beyond the 9 that we know of, a 10th one that they wiped from existence, the Angels.
Okay.
So she's Odin's daughter who was taken there. It's just a way to add, I want to call it depth and things to characters, but...
It's a way to add layers that weren't there before without having to remake the...
There were layers that don't need to be there, though.
Right.
Like, some of them make sense. Like, in this, we find out what happened to Richard Rider in Thanos in the Cancerverse. That I need to know. That was an open-ended question that they're now answering.
Okay.
Tony Stark never had to have an involvement in the creation of the
right.
Hulk.
Yeah.
That was completely unnecessary.
Hulk's been around for decades without that happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So some of the stuff, thumbs up. Some of it, this one, however, thumbs up. So where we last saw Richard Rider, my favorite Nova, most people's favorite Nova before Sam Alexander, is him and the Star-Lord were fighting Thanos in the Thanos Imperative. And then you have the Cancerverse. Star-Lord got a cosmic cube. They battle it out. They trap Thanos beyond the Cancerverse. They seal up the dimension. They essentially have now just brought Thanos into somewhere else. He's no longer in our dimension, in our galaxy. We erect a statue to the Star-Lord and Nova for giving their lives to saving the world, the galaxy, the universe, and that's it.
Okay.
Suddenly we have the Star-Lord back in our universe, and we don't know how. We have Thanos back in our universe. We don't know how. We don't see Richard Rider. We don't see Nova return. Now, is that because they don't want competition for Sam Alexander, this new Nova, or is there a bigger story to it? They have been back. Thanos has been back, and Star-Lord has been back. Now, about a year and a half, almost 2 years, still no Richard Rider. We finally find out what's going on. And as I mentioned before with Bendis, it's kind of nice, and it's a slow build. And then he leaves me hanging, and I'm all like, you son of a, right there. The very last panel, well, now I want to know.
Right.
So essentially what happens is Gamora finds Star-Lord. Well, doesn't really have to hunt that hard. They're on the same ship. Takes him someplace secluded. No one else is around. Ties him to a chair. Bounds him. And says, I want to know the truth. No more lying to me. What happened to Richard?
Okay.
So we find out they're on the Cancerverse. He has the Cosmic Cube. They're fighting Thanos. Turns out Drax was there. Didn't know that one. Drax was there. They're fighting it all out. And much like the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, he has the Cosmic Cube, and he can't control it. It's starting to take him over. And Thanos is laughing at him, saying, essentially, you're going to destroy us all. Possibly this entire universe, because you don't know how to control it. You're not strong enough to control it. Give me the cube, and I will set us free. I know how to use it.
Okay.
Nova and the Star-Lord are basically saying, we don't care if we die. We don't care if we kill you in the process. We brought you to this universe knowing we were all going to die regardless. We're ready for this. So what? And then the cube is taking over the Star-Lord. Thanos has Nova by the throat. He's about to make a decision, and then the issue's over.
Oh, cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger. You got me again, Bendis. Well done. You got me again. So I still don't know what happened to Richard Rider, and it's a spike through my heart, but I'm looking forward to finding out because I'd love to see him come back. For those of you who like the cosmic stuff, loved Guardians of the Galaxy, I suggest that you don't even read Bendis' run on Guardians of the Galaxy. You go back even farther to start at Annihilation by Dan Abnett, the DNA as we call it, and read those Guardians, read those Nova, which will bring you much more up to date to where this is, and find out what happened to Richard Rider.
So Richard Rider is essentially like the Hal Jordan of the Nova Corps, and this new guy Sam is like the Kyle Rayner.
Don't.
Is that how I understand that?
No, Jay.
I think it is.
I'm trying so hard not to curse on this podcast.
Right.
I just want to so badly.
You can be in denial all you want.
So, yes, the Nova Corps, unlike the movies, so for those of you who've only seen the movies and aren't familiar with it, I'm going to take you away from the movies for a little bit. They don't just fly epically awesome ships that form nets. They are superpowered. You're superpowered by your helmet, whereas the Green Lanterns are superpowered by the rings. Ironically, I'm wearing my Green Lantern ring
There you
today.
go.
No, they are superpowered by their helmets.
Okay.
Richard Rider is very much like Kyle Rayner because all the other Novas were destroyed and he got all the power in one. So he was like Ion. And who was Ion again?
Oh, they chose to make Kyle Rayner.
There it is.
Because they had no better stories to tell.
Because there was no better man suited for the job. And like Richard
They
Rider.
felt bad for putting his girlfriend in a fridge.
That brings up a whole other
Yes.
bitter
Right. We'll get to that another time.
bitter subject for me.
Okay.
And not that she was in the fridge, it's what that spawned as far as a movement's concerned. No, so Nova got the Nova Prime Force, is what they called it. Nova Prime was not a character played by Glenn Close, it was the sentient creation of the Nova. He got all the power and he used that to destroy Thanos. So where the new Nova power came from, we don't know yet either. So Sam Alexander is just a young 15-year-old kid who his dad was a Nova, and he found his dad's helmet.
Okay.
Put it on. Turns out the Nova helmets work via DNA. Guess who's got now the power of Nova?
Fair enough.
There you go.
Okay.
So Richard Rider, I have a month to find out what happened to him.
Okay.
And that's it for my comic review.
Yep. Yeah, that's comics for tonight.
That's comics for tonight because
So
we
we've
are
done-
running. We
done-
promised to be a shorter show, and we sure did because
By
it's
12 minutes.
by 12 minutes.
All right. So that is our second episode. I hope you guys liked it. We will be back again recording next Wednesday. We'll be up on our YouTube channel on Thursday.
Thursday, yep.
Unless YouTube takes 8 hours to encode again like it did last week.
To be fair, we do run long.
We do, yes. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys
Thanks
next
for watching.
week.
Take care. Have a nice week.